Iron Maiden is like your favorite history teacher.
Welcome, boys and girls, how are you?
With its lyrics, this band has made thousands of boys and girls around the world interested in ancient Greece, World War I, and history overall by giving numerous lessons with its music.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And since I'm a Ukrainian in Ukraine, I thought we should take a look at some of the songs this band has written about wars, and afterwards release special episodes about each of those. So let's do it. Iron Maiden's passion for history teaching and war specifically came together with the vocalist Bruce Dickinson. And since the release of Run to the Hills, which tells the story of running battles between Native American tribes and invading Anglo-Saxon soldiers, the band has released countless war-themed songs. And so in order to not make it 2 hours long, in this episode we will only list the songs which can be tied to specific battles or wars, and then release longer episodes about each of those. Nick McBrain's introduction to the Iron Maiden family were Eagles Dare, which is actually based on the 1968 movie of the same title, tells the story of the two Allied agents in World War II staging a raid on a Nazi castle to free an American pal. Possibly the most popular Iron Maiden war-themed song, inspired by the charge of the Light Brigade during the Battle of Balaclava in 1854 in the Crimean War. The song which today, in 2023, is possibly more relevant than ever so. Written from a viewpoint of a British RAF pilot during the Battle of Britain in 1940, Estáis High has become one of the most iconic heavy metal anthems ever, and also the most popular concert opener in the Iron Maiden universe. And by the way, just like many other songs on this list, its lyrics were actually partially inspired by the 1976 war film of the same name. On both Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, the band did not really release any songs about specific wars or battles. Although Steve Harris, of course, did not stop himself from competing for a title of the coolest high school history teacher on Earth with the epic Alexander the Great, which we finally got to hear live last year.
I love it!
And so, I guess it is quite significant that after a 6-year-long break, Iron Maiden returned to the war theme in their lyrics with this track. 1990's Tailgunner is in fact a sequel to Estáis High, which tells the story from a different perspective and quite possibly refers to the infamous Dresden bombing, although its title actually comes from a porno movie. Yet another World War II themed song inspired by a movie or a novel of the same title. This time telling the story of the submarine warfare of the Second World War, which took place in the Pacific Ocean. On Afraid to Shoot Strangers, Iron Maiden actually were not given a distant history lesson, but rather spoke of the contemporary events, as the band described the horrors of a just then ended Gulf War and the traumatic experience many young men and women were forced to experience in it. Despite Bruce Dickinson leaving the band after Fear of the Dark, Iron Maiden did not abandon their usual lyrical themes. Quite the opposite. The X Factor is actually one of the darkest Iron Maiden albums, simply packed with some general anti-war songs like Fortunes of War, and of course The Aftermath, which, weirdly enough, is actually the first Iron Maiden song about World War I.
What?
And is written from a perspective of a soldier in the trenches. The story inspired by nobody else but Blaze Bayley's great-grandfather. another war theme song from the same record, this time based on the 1979 movie Apocalypse Now, and the first and only Iron Maiden track about the Vietnam War, which is kind of ironic given the fact that Eddie was pretty much born out of it.
I worked out from a head which I saw stuck on a Vietnamese tank, supposedly an American's head.
Yet this is still the only song the band has written about those events since its formation on the Christmas Day in 1975. And talking about Christmas, you might actually have wondered about what kind of awesome new t-shirt I have here. This character, who as you can see was inspired by some of our favorite mascots, and of course Grinch, was created by a very talented artist, and I actually made some t-shirts and hoodies with him, which also have some nerdy little nods and clues to our favorite bands, and which you can find at metalpilgrim.net. So if any of you guys would like to rock one, I would absolutely love to send it to you this holiday season. Nah, I can't really trace it to any specific war in the many Anglo-Scottish wars, so I guess we'll kind of have to skip it.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Now, well, the Clansman is inspired by the 1995 movie Braveheart, which is supposed to portray the fight of Sir William Wallace, who led the Scots in the First War of Scottish Independence.
What will you do without freedom?
The lyrics of this song actually seem to portray the joint image of the Anglo-Scottish Wars, which of course there were many of throughout the years.
Yep.
Yet for the purpose of the storytelling, I guess we kind of have to assume that it takes place in the late 13th century.
For presenting yourselves on this battlefield, I give you thanks.
Como Estáis, Amigos is dedicated to all the soldiers who fought on both sides of the Falkland War between Argentina and the United Kingdom in 1982, continuing Blaze Bayley's tradition of writing songs about some of the lesser spoken-of wars. Overall, I have to say that during the Blaze Bayley era, Iron Maiden cranked up their war-themed nerdiness to 11.
These go to 11.
Releasing 4 different songs about 4 different words which the band has never spoken of before, and that's in addition to the many other anti-war songs the band has released on those 2 records. Upon his return to Iron Maiden, Bruce Dickinson took a short break from teaching history to his fans, yet returned to the old ways on the album Dance of Death, with the song Montségur, describing the events of the Siege of Montségur in 1243-1244.
Rust your bullets with his tears. Let me tell you about his years.
Another World War I epic based on the Battle of Paschendale, which took place in 1917. And here I just want to say something. In my opinion, Paschendale is actually one of the greatest songs this band has ever written in their entire catalog. And if I would be able to choose the band's setlist, I would actually swap Paschendale in a heartbeat with pretty much any other track on this list. And I love all of them.
Laying low in a blood-filled church, killing time to the very own death in the face of the shield of falling rain. Never see my friends again.
And by the way, the Battle of Paschendale itself has actually inspired countless of metal bands around the world to release their own songs about that battle, including, for example, my friends from the band 1914. And since I actually do intend to release special episodes about each of these Iron Maiden songs, what do you think about starting with Paschendale itself? Please let us know in the comments.
Friend and foe will meet again. Those who died in Paschendale.
Despite A Matter of Life and Death being an album pretty much built around the military theme, only one track from this record fully matches our criteria for this video. Based on the 1959 book of the same title, The Longest Day talks about the heroic D-Day and the effect it had on the minds of the young soldiers who fought on the Omaha beach that day.
Death or glory, it's all the same. Death or glory.
Just like Aces High, Death of Glory discusses an aerial battle, yet this time set in World War I instead. It is set in the morning of a day of an air fight which will result in several deaths, much possibly telling the story of the infamous Red Baron. And thus we come to the latest Iron Maiden studio output, Senjutsu. And once again, there are several songs on it which are directly related to wars, yet there are only two which can be included in this list. Darkest Hour is not really concentrated on the events of the Second World War, but rather on the personal struggle and the firmness of Winston Churchill. Overall, this song is possibly one of the most touching ones the band has written in a long time. And I would absolutely love it if the band would include Darkest Hour on their set list for the Future Past tour next year. Thus we come to the last one on this list, the song which since its release has been given a new meaning by many, yet which was not originally written about a specific war per se, yet unfortunately has become somewhat prophetic of the hell some of us are living in for almost 2 years now. So as we enter this holiday season, guys, I just wanted to remind you that the war in Ukraine is still going on and there are people dying here every day, so please continue supporting us so that we can all make art and not war. But anyways, which is your personal favorite war song by Iron Maiden? Please let us know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!